Hi, this is Hello Rachel the First Knits. I'm Rachel, and this is my knitting podcast where I share with you what I've been working on. I think I posted about a month ago last, and I'm gonna try to, I think, set aside a filming time for me. I'm super busy between dance and my job and everything, so it's hard for me to find time to film these, but I'd make them even if only like a couple people watched them because I love this kind of content. So let me get started with what I've been working on. I think this wasn't finished, actually. I should start with this. I think this wasn't finished in my last episode. By the way, I'm trying something new where I'm holding the microphone instead of clipping it on because I found that it falls off or gets blocked by my hair a lot. So hopefully this audio is a lot better for you. So I'll start with this actually. This is my Varde sweater by Rauma Garn. I think in the last episode I had to come on and do an editing update because I misspoke or the microphone probably fell off or something. But at the time I was talking about, sorry, let me get way up close. I was talking about this part of the yoke and how in the charted pattern, I guess with the lighting today, it's been snowing, so it's really bright and washed out outside, but you can't really see the diamonds. But my modifications that I was talking about at that point did work, and I got my diamonds to line up really nicely inside my decreases, and the decreases weren't so weird that they affected the fit of the sweater. So I finished this, and I've already worn it 2 or 3 times to work so far, and I have gotten a lot of compliments. People really like it. I think it turned out exactly like I wanted it to. Maybe even a little bit better, because when I had visualized this and planned for it and ordered yarn, I had thought that this color mist was going to be more of a really pale gray, but it actually turned out to be a really pale blue. I guess especially in contrast to the other grays in here, it looks very blue, and I love how that turned out. I had planned for this to be kind of a grayscale sweater, but I think that this adds so much to it without dampening its neutralness, if that makes sense. Oh, I got a notification from my parking app that there's a Minneapolis snow emergency right now. Luckily the roads aren't too bad where I am. I just took Pan with me in her carrier on a little Starbucks run, and it was slippery, but not that bad. And if I'm going to toot my own horn at anything, it's that I'm really good at driving in the snow. So I think it's fine. But then again, I'm not street parking in Minneapolis right now. Okay, back to the sweater. This was knitted in Knitpicks palette, which is their fingering weight 100% Peruvian Highland wool yarn that is designed for color work basically, and they have I want to say 100 colors, maybe 120 or so. I don't know what I'm basing that off of. That's how many squares I thought I scrolled past. And I did this thing before I ordered it where I would pull up all the tabs, and on the Knitpicks website you can open tabs of different colors and they just appear as a little box you can drag around the screen. So I dragged all these little boxes together to make my palette out of palette. Yeah. And then I ordered it and I knitted with it and I loved it. I've knitted with this yarn once before. I think I showed this piece on my first ever podcast episode, but it was my Rising Dawn wrap by Stephen West. And it was knitted in the Knitpicks color Sagebrush, and I noticed that I really liked working with that yarn during that time. So I felt confident ordering all these colors in a sweater quantity. Pattern was the Varde sweater by Rauma Garn. It came in a pattern booklet that I think I showed in the last episode if you're interested in looking at that. It called for way more yarn than this actually used. Like it called for like 2 balls of each of these contrast colors, and I didn't need all that. It literally didn't even use a whole ball of like any of these contrast colors, not even the white, and I like used a ton of the white. So I have a lot of this left over and I'm trying to figure out what to do with it. I think I'd really like to draft like a, I don't know what this is called. Maybe it's called a bolero sweater, but I've seen like other ballet dancers like wear these at rehearsal and they look really nice. And since this yarn is really like hard wearing in my experience, I think it would be like perfect for dance wear, and wool would like keep me warm in all those freezing cold nutcracker rehearsals. And it would go from like one end, and I would literally just use these same sleeve decreases, I think, because I really like how these sleeves fit my arms. They're like just fitted enough that I don't feel like I'm like drowning in fabric, but they're not so tight that it's like restrictive. Yeah, actually this whole sweater fits really perfectly. I think I'd mentioned I was kind of nervous about that, but it fits perfectly. So I'd use these. I've been on so many tangents. I'm so sorry. I would use these sleeves and then knit like a rectangle across the back to like connect the sleeves so that I could keep like just my arms warm. Because I'm somebody who like my body gets really hot, but then sometimes I want like a little bit of a layer. So I think that'd be good. And then if I wanted to, I could like tie it around my waist or drape it over a bar and it wouldn't be huge. So that's my plan for my palette. I'd really like to get it all in this charcoal heather color, but I don't know if I have enough of that, in which case I might bring in some of the white. No, I want it to be all the charcoal. I don't know what I'll do. We'll see. I don't even know if that's what I'll end up doing with it. I always like make all these plans really in advance and then yeah. I don't know if I have anything else to say about this sweater right now. The color work, tension blocked out really nicely. All this color work, I felt like I was really good at it. This part, when I was just getting started and I was like, I don't know, maybe two-hand color work is for me, was really tight. So I'm glad it blocked out to where it's like wearable, especially because that's like where my arms like move. If I have any complaints about this, it's that sometimes like depending on what I'm doing, I can get a little bit of this like bubbling across the yoke, but I just keep pulling it down and it seems to be fine. Oh, and I also did not just modify this, I switched the color of this to fit the contrast better, because the white and the blue like right here don't contrast that much, and for this I wanted high contrast. And then I also added in just like 4 or 5 short rows on the back neck, and I kept my raglan markers in, even though the raglan like ends down here. I kept the raglan markers in all the way till the end so that I could use them to mark where the short rows would be. So I would just like work, to 5 stitches before the marker and then do a GSR turn and then, 5 stitches past the next time and whatever. So you can kind of see the line of this here. And I think the effect is really nice. I think the collar of this is really, really perfect. It's like I'm sorry, this is probably going to be really bad audio. This is moving around. Maybe this was a bad idea. We'll see. This is just wide enough that it kind of stands up away from my neck on the sides, but it's also like not so far out that it's like flopping over. And it's double folded with a pearl ridge in the middle to keep the fold like exactly even, which I'm not a huge fan of double folded knit pieces, but if there's a pearl ridge, I think I like them a lot better. What I really don't like is like a big like saggy tube of fabric that's like pretending to be a collar, but really it's just like a random tube. So this makes it stand up and has a nice crisp edge where it folds, which is important to me. And I also did German short row turns before and after all my ribbing. So like here, I knit this inside out because that way is neater. And then I turned it and knit up the sleeve like with the stockinette on the outside. Same for this one. Same for the bottom hem. And then at the end, I just did a German short row turn before I started the ribbing so that my nicer ribbing would be on the outside. And that's what I did for my Varde sweater. It's perfect. I love it. I'm so excited to wear it for the rest of the winter and for the rest of my life. Immediately after I finished this, I had talked about wanting to start in with my like gray color that was in my tulip sweater. And I think I was wearing my tulip sweater in the last video. I was talking about the color and how I liked it and everything. But I have been stash busting and knitting so much old yarn that I really wanted to treat myself to some new yarn. And I also found a great new yarn shop in the Twin Cities that I'd never been to before. And they had the perfect yarn for the Lakes pullover by Ozetta. So I bought the 2 skeins that they had in stock and cast on like that same afternoon. And so far, it's been flying. I have the whole body here. I guess I'm moving in. Well, I have 3 more finished objects, but they're not that exciting. So I do want to talk about this now. I have the whole body finished. I have the whole body finished of my Lakes pullover, and I'm just starting on my first sleeve. I just picked up the stitches to go around it, and I just finished the short rows across the top of the sleeve, and I'm moving into my first like full rounds of sleeve. Yeah, it's flying off the needles. By the way, the yarn I bought 2 skeins originally, and I ended up having to buy 2 more, and I'm hoping it'll use itself all up and I won't have to put any more scraps in my scrap basket. But this is Lore by the Fiber Co. I was really in the mood for like a white tweed sweater, and this is like a very, very subtle tweed. It's got like little different like bits of gray and cream spun into it, and the way it knits up is so pretty. I'll hold this like this so you can see it. I believe it is a woolen spun yarn, if I had to guess. This is backwards, that's fine. And it's very like light, very airy, very warm, not heavy at all, which I'm really vibing with. I've been wearing my other Ozetta project, my oversized seasons cardigan, a lot this winter, especially as like a I just got out of bed and I'm freezing kind of jacket thing, or I just got out of the shower and I don't want my hair to like soak through my shirt kind of thing. And it's great. It is really heavy. I haven't weighed it, but it's super heavy. I should weigh it and tell you how much it weighs. So I wear it a lot, but I've been really enjoying this sweater and my tulip a lot more because they're not so heavyweight. Like they just feel easier to wear, I guess. Like they just kind of float off the body and move with me a little bit easier. And my seasons cardigan, I feel like it's just such a thick, dense gauge with such a bulky yarn that I feel like it looks like a little bit frumpy sometimes, especially in the sleeves. I feel like the body always looks good, but the sleeves are a little like, they just like look like the folds are like rumpled into them kind of from where my elbow crease is, and I don't love how that looks. But I still wear it a lot, so that's fine. But that is to say, I really wanted a whitish tweed and a woolen spun yarn if possible. I don't know what kind of wool this is. Oh, it is 100% Kent lamb's wool, sourced and produced in England. Yeah, and it feels like it's going to be really hard wearing, which I love because I really like to wear my knits like all the time, over and over again. I try to get like one day in with my favorite sweaters, like at least every week or every other week, wearing them to school, especially when it's like freezing cold out, which it has been. That's what's going on with my hair, by the way. It's like, it's really, really staticky. I've actually been shocking myself on everything. It's been so cold and dry out. I keep getting up from my rolling chair to like move slides or move stuff on my smartboard, and like it like shocks me so hard that there's this big crack, and all my students are like, "Oh my gosh, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's like the 10th time today." A lot of static, a lot of cold, a lot of winter. I mentioned, if you didn't know, I live in um, Minneapolis in the Twin Cities in Minnesota, and it's pretty cold. It was like 0 degrees, wind chill for like 4 days last week, and I wore my wool a lot. So I'm really looking forward to having this done. I'm tentatively hoping to have it done before spring break. I really want to go on a trip for spring break to take myself on like a little writing retreat, which I've done other years and really enjoyed, to like work on my novel and just like enjoy nature and stuff. I've gone to Thunder Bay, Canada a couple times, and this time I'm looking to mix it up a little bit and maybe take the train somewhere, possibly Montana. So like that's kind of the vision I have in my head, is me um, like wearing this on the train going to Montana to go like be in the mountains and write. That's the vision for this sweater, and I think I can do it because it's knit up super fast. The only slow thing was these like miles and miles and miles of ribbing. She has you like knitted at the same gauge as your needles you use for the body, but I don't like that. So I did what I usually did and sized down 2 needle sizes. And then I also did my usual like German short row turn here, so that my nicer side of my, here, I'll show you. My like ugly ribbing side is on the inside, and my nice like tidy, almost stockinette looking ribbing is facing outwards. I think I said something wrong there, but just ignore it for me. Oh yeah, so because I was on the smaller needles, it took like forever to knit all this 4 inches of ribbing. Although the body went really quick. I've been doing this new thing where instead of like stressing about how long it is and trying to guess and whatever, every time I knit an inch, I put a stitch marker in. And then not only do I know how much progress I'm making, but I don't have to worry about like whether I've knit too far, or like how long is this going to take? Am I going to run out of yarn? Did I bring a tape measure with me? Like all that stuff. Like I just know when I knit to whatever, I'm at this many inches. And I like that. So I'm going to do that for the sleeves too. And I think it'll help this go really super fast. That's what I've been working on the most lately. I do have one other work in progress right now. I also bought yarn for a second sweater at that yarn shop. I gotta remember what the name of it is. I can't quite remember. I think it might be called the Yarnery or something. It's like in between Minneapolis and St. Paul. If you're from the area, maybe you can let me know. It's like in between the Twin Cities, and it's kind of by Macalester University. So I feel like if you remember what the store is, let me know. But I have another start of a sweater of yarn on my couch here too. But first I'm going to show you the things that I finished. I finished another bunny this month. The scrap busting from my Stella quilt cushion is ongoing. Nice thread. Um, this finished up the scraps of the pink color and one of my balls of white yarn. So I have like maybe like a half a ball of the white yarn left. And then I also have some of the brown colorway left, which I'm really looking forward to using. But this means I'm all out of pink. I finished my blue and I finished my gray. So I'm really, really on track to have all that yarn out of my scrap bin. And these bunnies are part of the reason why I'm like, I deserved a new sweater yarn quantity. So I think I'm gonna give that bunny to my mom because she really liked the one I made for my brother. And that's that. My other finished objects are, I think back when I first started this channel, I had some B-roll video because I'd already hung them up. But I have these little knitted stars hanging from my curtains in my bedroom here in my apartment. And I really like them because if you've been following this channel for a long time, I used to post a lot of like bullet journal setup videos and content like that. And frankly, I hated the editing process of that. So that was part of the reason why I decided to shift over to like making knitting podcast style format instead. But back when I was doing like bullet journaling videos all the time, one of my like signature things was drawing these like hanging stars from the top of the page. So I really liked how I had stars like hanging against my white curtains in my bedroom, kind of like the stars on my bullet journal pages. Like the curtain was the page and the stars were what I drew, except I like knitted them instead. It felt very like full circle. Anyway, I still use that pattern a lot. I really like the star pattern. I've had people like ask for stars, and I've been focused on bunnies, haven't been making stars. But I actually hand spun some yarn um, last winter that I processed myself, even though I didn't really mean to. Basically, I went to a like Renaissance festival with a lot of like craft people and like artisans there. And there was one stall that sold like dyed wool locks that weren't like processed into like spinning fiber, really. They were just like the locks. So I got some carders and I pulled up some YouTube and I had a drop spindle already. So I just kind of did my best and made some yarn out of the wool locks, and they were pink and purple, and it took forever, and the wool was like really greasy and stinky because I don't think it had been like fully washed, like probably like a little bit because I had to dye it, but not like fully. And so then I like washed my skein and I was really proud of myself, but the skein was like tiny and it had been sitting in one of my like small quantity piles for like a really long time. I have something else from that pile in here too. I don't quite have that and my leftovers bin in the same spot. Like my leftovers are like, I have nothing in mind for this, like anything will do. And my small quantities are like, this could be a hat, this could be fingerless gloves, this could be, I don't know what. And that was what pile this yarn was in because it was like special because it was the first like, I mean, I guess it's not the first full skein I ever spun because I spun some like lamb's wool a while back too, but you know what I mean. It was like special. So I was looking around for something to cast on as soon as I finished that bunny and while I was like still slogging through the ribbing on here. And I decided to pull my skein out, wind it up just like into a hand rolled ball, and knit some more stars. So I actually squeezed 2 stars out of it because I used the patons Simply Wool Worsted in the Aran color on the back, which I think I actually even like better than if it had just been 2 sides because I feel like it really makes the color of this side stand out. And then you can see the like shift even a little bit better. Yeah. So I made 2 of those. I have a pink one and a purple one. I knitted these on 8mm needles. I believe the pattern is free, so I don't think I'm giving too much away, but basically you cast on like 105 stitches, and that's what I did for this one. It was just bigger than my other ones because the yarn and needles were bigger. And then you do 1 round regular, and then you start decreasing with a central double decrease every round in these 5 spots, and it kind of pulls it into a star shape. And then the nightmare part is picking up the stitches on the other side and trying to get them to all like sit nicely on your needle, even though it's like literally star shaped. But I managed it, and I knitted the back side, seamed it up, or you stuff it like right before you finish in the center here. And so I just dug out my polyfill from the bunnies and other stars and the ornaments and stuck it in here, seamed it up, and now I have 2 really, really beautiful hand spun stars. This one I subtracted about 20 stitches from the cast on number so that it would be a little smaller because I didn't want to run out of yarn in the middle of a star, but I still have more left over. So I might make another one about this size. I think I can squeeze it out. And then I had left a really long tail because I undid those 20 stitches. And so I wove that tail in and out on the white side here to kind of make this like, it's almost like a slip stitch kind of pattern, except it's just sewn in there with the long tail. So yeah, these are my stars. I think they turned out so pretty. I've never knit with hand spun before, so this was really like exciting. I feel like they turned out way more like elevated than I thought they would. I was like, these are kind of ugly. Like, this yarn is not the most even. It's not the prettiest, like whatever. So I'm just gonna make some stars, and if I don't like them, I can give them away. I don't know, put them in my classroom, put them up for grabs in the staff lounge. But I really like the way they turned out. I feel like they look like Noro yarn, kind of, with the variation in the yarn thickness and color, and it's very much like a denser yarn because the wool locks didn't fluff up that much when I like carded them. So the yarn wound up like quite dense and shiny and thick. Yeah, they turned out really pretty. I'm really excited. I took some good photos that I'm going to put on Ravelry for the star pattern. Yeah. Okay. I think that's all I finished with knitting. I guess this is not really knitting, but it kind of is because I finished sewing the base for my Stella quilt cushion pillow cover. I bought like a nice metal zipper at Joann Fabrics, RIP. This was way before, and some cotton canvas at Michael's, and put my Stella quilt cushion on the ground, cut out like a really generous seam allowance, and then stitched them together, and then inserted the zipper. And then because the zipper is just a little too short, I made some rectangles containing the raw edges of themselves, and then stitched them in this kind of like triangle shape to each end of the pillowcase. And then before I sew on the knitted piece of the Stella quilt cushion, I really want to wash this because it's got cat hair all over it from Pan, and it's also like really creased. But before I wash it, I need to do something with the raw edges of the straight seams on the inside, and I'm debating whether I want to actually own pinking shears or not, but we'll see. So it's kind of on hiatus because of that. But the sewing part is done, and all I have to do is wash it, and then I guess more sewing. So I guess it's not done, but you know what I mean. Like the making of it is done. Okay, that's the last finished object. Okay, so I have one other work in progress besides my, what is this called? Lakes pullover. And it is my, sorry, the static, you guys. It's a second Oslo hat. When I bought the palette, I bought a couple, well, really just this one. I bought an extra ball of a color that I had been thinking about including in the sweater, but I ultimately decided not to, called Mineral Heather. And it's so pretty. And so this ball has just been floating around, and I was like, maybe I could squeeze a hat out of it. So I went on my Oslo hat pattern, and the yardage seemed to work out. So I have a pretty small head. I'm hopeful that I can squeeze out a hat from this that'll fit me, and I think it'll look like really good with my eye color and my other winter stuff. I have this scarf that I wear that my sister got me from Scotland, and it's like Scottish lamb's wool in the Princess Diana Memorial Tartan pattern. And I think this will look good with that too. Right now, I've been wearing my other Oslo hat, the one that I bought the pattern with. That is, it looks really big, doesn't it? That I modified it. I don't think I did a great job of changing the stitch count to accommodate two lace weights held together instead of just like the regular whatever pattern stitch counts. And then my dog chewed a hole in it, and so then I went back and did like sweater surgery on it, where I cut a stitch, unraveled, picked up, knit a section, and then like grafted it together. And it's not perfect. It's got like a little line here, but it's really warm. It's made with this is what I was talking about. This is in my like little quantities bag. It's made with Issair Alpaca 1 and their silk mohair in, I believe one of these is like, oh yeah, this is like the E0 color in the alpaca. It's just like plain undyed. And then the silk mohair is like the zero color. Yep, and it's like this opaly purple white kind of that is really pretty. So I love this hat, but I'd really like to have a second one so that I can wash this sometimes without having to like check the weather for the whole week for it to block out. And also like hide it from Pan while it's blocking. Well, this was blocking. She would like go and like rumpus with it on the carpet. And I kept having to like relay it out for blocking as it was drying because she kept messing it up. Although this could probably block in the bathroom. It wouldn't take up that much room, and then I could close the door. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. So, another Oslo hat on the needles. It looks pretty small, especially compared to that one, which I think is pretty wide for my head. But I put this on my head in the middle of a coffee shop full of really cool people in Minneapolis yesterday just to check the size, and I think it's going to fit. So the embarrassment was worth it. I had debated with my sister about doing like a headband or a hat. So if it ends up not being enough yarn for a hat, I can always just turn it into the headband instead. So I think either way, this will be a really nice like winter accessory. And it's nice to have more than one hat, you know? Like, yes, one hat will do the job, but it's nice to have more than one. Then you can wash one. And my goal for this is to have it finished before our rescheduled field trip on February 19th. We were supposed to have it on Thursday of this week, which was the 6th, and the wind chill was too low, so we couldn't go. So now I have something to work towards. The last, right? I'm like digging through my pile over here. The last thing I have to show you today is the other yarn I bought to make a sweater. I really like decided to treat myself because I have been like stash busting and scrap busting so much that I was like, I can make a second new sweater, because I found the second new sweater's yarn at the same time I found the lore, and I was like, this would be perfect for this other idea I had. And then I went back to the yarn store and I got it later. And it is Holstgarn Super Soft. It says Conquer, but I'm not sure if that's the color name or if that's just like another like language, or if I just sound like really stupid, like conquer. Like not like conquer with a Q, but like conquer on the head. So I bought that, and then I also got the Isair Silk Mohair in, what is this color? Color 34. This is this dark brown. And the idea for this is that I've been really eyeing this sweater. This is going to sound really stupid. And I'm going to sound like a big old nerd, but I am, so I guess it's fine. I was watching Oshinoko, which is this one anime that, like, I'm not going to spoil you for it because it's super wild, but I had been like really intrigued by like all the promotion and stuff I'd seen, so I just tried it sight unseen, and it was really good, first of all. But there's this secondary character who has this great sweater, and I had never seen that sweater out in the real world before, but I was like, I love the sweater itself. I love how she styled it, because it's like a thin, like lightweight, like fingering weight, maybe fingering plus mohair, you see where we're going with this kind of weight of sweater. And it has like this really beautiful like seams straight down center middle, turtleneck, and she had it styled like under a dress, which like I have a lot of like strappy dresses that I don't wear in the winter, but if I had a cool dark brown, almost black, hard to tell what color it is sweater to wear under them, maybe I would. So I bought the yarn for that. I bought 2 of these and 2 of these. Whenever I buy yarn for sweaters, I don't buy the whole quantity at once, because I like to knit through a good amount of it and then see how much I think the whole thing is going to require before I buy the full amount. And that's because I hate having scraps left over, in case you couldn't tell from all the bunnies. It just feels like a waste of yarn, and if I can't come up with a good idea of it, it feels like a waste of time too. So I bought just enough to get started. The only thing is that I've been having trouble finding a pattern to really achieve the vision that I have in mind. I know that Nurtured by Andrea Mowry is kind of similar to what I'm talking about, but it's not really what I have in mind. What I'd really like is something that is just a little bit looser, a little bit boxier, and with the faux seam over a backdrop of stockinette, and not like reverse stockinette, which I feel like must get stuck on stuff constantly. Like that's always, it just feels like really impractical to me to have the reverse of the stockinette on the outside, because stockinette I feel like doesn't catch on stuff as much as the pearl bump side. So I have a couple sweaters on Ravelry that I'm like, I could modify this and kind of make it what I want. But then like I couldn't really tell anybody how I made what I made, because then I'd have to give away pattern details. You know what I mean? Like it just, I'm like, if I want to design a sweater pattern, like I want to just design the whole pattern basically, but I also don't want to do that right now because it's really exhausting. After the leg warmer pattern and the beach dress pattern, I'm like, I want to take a little break. So I don't know. So basically, if you have any ideas about, if you know what the sweater I'm looking about, blah, blah, blah. If you know what the sweater that I'm talking about looks like, and you also know about knitting patterns, let me know if you have any ideas for me. because I'm also running out of ways to search what I want on Ravelry. If you search faux seam, you get a bunch of weird stuff that isn't what I want. And then I was looking at like construction, and I was like, oh, I like the saddle shoulder in this, so I should search saddle shoulder, but then I didn't like the way the body fit. Maybe I should just design my own. I don't know. But let me know if you have any ideas for me. Yeah, that's about all I've got for now. I may try to do like a knit and chat style format, which I really enjoy. And so I don't know. I'd like to come out with my new video a little bit sooner because I feel like I've been knitting really fast lately. Might be the motivation of like doing this podcast, but I thought maybe like a knit and chat would be a good way to like slow down and just kind of show stuff between videos and just kind of talk about it. I know that a lot of you, like, if you're subscribed to this channel, which like I understand why you would maybe want to unsubscribe if you came here for bullet journal content and now I'm doing this instead. Like I get that, but I don't know, I'm trying to like maybe explain a little bit about like how I ended up here and how long I've been knitting and what that journey has been like. Yeah, so like let me know if you're interested in that video, if you have any like questions or anything that you like for people you watch, knitters, to like talk about their lives or their creative journey or whatever. Yeah, so hopefully I'll get to do that soon. I kind of look forward to seeing if you have any questions for me, if you're okay with this channel having changed so much, if holding the microphone made the audio better or worse. I'd love to know. I think I'm going to wrap it up here. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I hope that I see you soon in a new video. Bye. Not yet. I know. Please, 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 please.